Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hoops and Huddles. This is the second post for today. I had to do an immediate reaction to this Suns Clippers game because what a finish, what a game, unbelievable chess match between two elite coaches. And what happened, not to brag, but what happened is exactly what I predicted would happen. The Clippers upset the Suns in game one, and the media is going to have to scramble to try and explain how this could have happened. Going into this game, first of all, the Suns were the betting line was Suns minus 7.5. I mean, it was complete disrespect to the Clippers. Even without Paul George, the Clippers are not a team that can be taken lightly. If I'm being completely honest, if the Clippers had Paul George, I was gonna pick them as my team to win the finals. I think they're incredibly dangerous. I think they have elite level shooting. They have solid playmaking. And while their playmaking definitely does leave something to be desired, what we saw from this game was like Russell Westbrook's redemption as a player. But before I want to get to that, I do need to just quickly rewind and talk about the media hyping up the Phoenix Suns. Since Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and beat LeBron in those two finals, my God, has Kevin Durant not been crowned like the greatest player ever? Like, the media cannot stop hyping this man up. He goes to Brooklyn. It doesn't work out. Again, not all on him. Harden was playing on one leg. Kyrie was hurt. I get it. But he couldn't win there. He could not do it. And we all know if another player was in his shoes, they would have been criticized a lot more harshly than Kevin Durant was. And then this year, after Kyrie gets traded, he has a golden opportunity to see if he can lead this team on a playoff run, because other players who have been put in the same league as Kevin Durant, top 10, top 15 players, are able to lead teams when not all the parts are there. But unfortunately, Kevin Durant didn't want to do that, so he decided to go to the Phoenix Suns. He got his trade request granted, and now he's on a team that he thought would give him a better chance to win a title. And because the media has been all over Kevin Durant in a positive way for a while, despite the occasional spat with certain media members, the prediction has been Suns win the finals. Like, that has just kind of been what the expectation is. If you looked at the Vegas betting odds, Suns and Bucks are the top two teams. Obviously, with the Giannis injury today, that is most likely to change if it turns out to be worse than it is predicted to be right now, but we'll see on that front. Regardless, the Phoenix Suns have never won anything. Kevin Durant has never won anything without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and that entire dynasty behind him. It's like, as much as I want to make it clear, I really do respect Kevin Durant's game. This guy is an absolute elite player, elite shot maker. He is phenomenal. But how he has been received in the media as if he is a proven leader of a team, it's just not true. And while, Kawhi has not been the best leader, especially vocally, especially, how he carries himself, he does have a bit more of that, a bit more of those leadership skills and a bit better resume than Kevin Durant does. And it's not just him on that Clippers team, because Ty Lue is a great coach, and Ty Lue does have championship experience. So going into this game and going into this series, I thought for sure the Clippers had a chance. I wasn't calling it like they will absolutely win, although I have made bets to that effect. But I definitely viewed them as a team that has a chance. And as a Lakers fan and as a LeBron fan, the team that does, I feel, threaten me the most is the LA Clippers. I mean, they just have shooting upon shooting upon shooting, even without Paul George. And, their shooting actually wasn't that great today. Kawhi Leonard hit some big shots. Eric Gordon definitely struggled in the second half a bit, but he did hit 3 threes. The Clippers are a dangerous team, and they match up well with the Phoenix Suns. I think that overall, two of the biggest surprises have to be the play of Russell Westbrook and the play of Devin Booker. I'll get to Russ in a minute. Let me just quickly talk about Devin Booker. I mean, he has a reputation of being a bad defender. If you speak to Suns fans, they'll tell you he's better than what how people think of him, even though no one calls him elite. But he was phenomenal this game on the defensive end. This easily is the best defensive game I've ever seen from him. Now, some of it, maybe just being in the right place at the right time, he kind of maybe stumbled into one or two of those nice plays, but there's no kidding that like this guy made an impact. And if the Suns did win this game, I think it would be on him. He would get the honors, the game ball for his performance. Despite a solid performance from a lot of the other players, I mean, outside of that first quarter, Kevin Durant played an okay game. Definitely not his best, but far from his worst. Ayton, like, my God, this guy's little like jumpers in the paint are complete they're like punches to the gut for a Clippers fan, because it's like that's kind of a shot you're fine with him taking, but he was hitting them. And when he gets that going, Zubac is not going to be out there guarding him, because he's going to be worried about DeAndre Ayton just driving around him. So overall, like, that was he was great in that regard. Chris Paul, despite shooting poorly, and he had a couple moments where he could have really closed this game down the stretch, he was still, again, an elite playmaker, and he actually led his team in rebounds, which is just mind-boggling. He's like the shortest guy on the floor at all times, and he still led them in rebounding. He just knows where on the floor to be. I mean, overall, like, you kind of got these great performances from different players, and it's like that's what made this game so interesting. Every player kind of knew what cog to be in the machine, and it was working, and it was definitely a very competitive game. But I do really want to talk about who I think is the star of this game. And, it's easy to say Kawhi Leonard, because he had nearly 40 points. He was incredibly efficient. And he did have those 2 back-to-back threes down the stretch as well, despite the fact that the Suns were able to kind of answer those. He was phenomenal. So I'm not taking anything away from Kawhi Leonard's play here. But, man, I do have to give props to Russell Westbrook. He is definitely not my favorite player. I have not been a fan of his for a long time. And when he came to the Lakers, I knew it would be a bad fit. It was a bad fit. It did not work. And despite his poor shooting in this game, this may be the best playoff game I've seen from Westbrook since like 2016. I know people that liked him on the Wizards are going to say that's disrespectful. People that liked him with Paul George and Carmelo Anthony and OKC, I mean, I'm sure that they can find some better games than this. But what he did on the defensive end, which, like, this is my biggest knock on Westbrook, is like his shooting has regressed, and as the league as a whole has become better at shooting the ball, he's become worse. So it's like, that screams to me that you're just not well equipped to be on a team. But even though that's a deficiency of his, this was an opportunity for him to make impact plays in other ways, and that's exactly what he did. This was one of the best defensive games I've seen from him, despite the occasional time he did make some mistakes in coverages, and the Suns were able to get some buckets off of it. Some of the sneaky ironically Chris Paul style plays that he was doing on defense kept the Clippers in this thing. Like, they were talking about it on the broadcast, and it was true. Like, players were hearing footsteps by the end of this game, because Westbrook was behind them when they were taking shots. He was behind them when they were dribbling. He was able, even if he would get blown by, he wouldn't give up. He would chase them down, try and swat the ball. He got Kevin Durant a couple times with that. Overall, like, what a pest he was on defense, and I have to give him respect for the game today. I mean, he was genuinely good. And I don't want to take anything away from him in that regard. I think he would get the game ball, either him or Kawhi, because Kawhi was just electric as well. There's really no stopping him. He is, outside of some of his clunky movement, it's just Kawhi, when he gets in the zone, it's just so annoying, because it's like, doesn't matter how well you can test, he knocks stuff down, and that's what makes him great. Now, obviously, how will he look in the third series potentially of this playoff run? We don't know, but the same can be said about someone like Chris Paul. So, those are questions that are yet to be answered. But another thing on Russell Westbrook, which did kind of rub me the wrong way, is how many people in the media keep talking about, like, oh, he's been better on the Clippers, like, compare him to how he was in the Lakers. I mean, it's night and day. He's just so much better in the Clippers. And what they're doing is implying the fact that, like, he wasn't utilized correctly under Frank Vogel, under Darvin Ham, or, like, also it's subtly taking shots at LeBron, like LeBron couldn't manage him as a teammate, blah, blah, blah. What people need to understand is that when he was with the Lakers, he carried a $50 million cap hit. Once they got Westbrook in LA, they could not sign real NBA players. I saw a figure, the number's either 11 or 10 or something like that. 10 of the players on their roster last year when they had Westbrook are no longer in the NBA. Like, that is how bad that roster was last year. And the reason it was bad is because these players, they could only get them in on veteran minimum deals because they had to carry that $50 million cap hit that Westbrook brought to the team. So the fact that he ended up signing with the Clippers for not even $1 million, because the season had already gone on, he signed for like $700,000. So now he can be kind of a leader off the bench or a ball handler, a primary ball handler, and you still have these good NBA players surrounding him that can make plays, and he can build chemistry with. He in LA, he was kicking out to like Wayne Ellington, right, or Kent Bazemore for threes, and it's like, man, like, these guys are washed, right? They're not elite level players. It's like, here he can pass it out to Kawhi Leonard, he can pass it out to Eric Gordon, he can make plays with Mason Plumlee or Zubats, and like, yeah, it's night and day when you can actually put a roster around him that's functioning, and he did good things, and he has been. I mean, look, his shooting is bad. There's no denying it. I think he's had like 2 good shooting nights since he's been on the Clippers. But in terms of like the playmaking and what he's been able to do in this game in particular, I thought he was phenomenal. And I think that when he has use if you can surround him with good players. You just can't give this guy a max contract. I'm very curious what's going to happen in the offseason. If the Clippers do go far, they're definitely going to keep him. I could imagine him maybe getting like a mid-level exception or something like that. I'm not hyper familiar with all of the cap situation that the Clippers are going through right now. I know they're a very expensive team, and I think there are new rules about this with the CBA about what you can sign players for if you're one of these teams that's paying like the super tax is what they're calling it. So I can't get into those details exactly because I don't know them, but I would imagine they're looking to keep him because he has been a net positive for this team. My whole sticking point with Westbrook is really just like what he's getting paid, because he's not a max level player. He just isn't, but he definitely has some use. And man, like, it was apparent here that my favorite play was probably at the very end where he managed to block. He blocked Booker. I'm pretty sure he did. It was Booker that he blocked, and then he was also able to throw the ball off of Booker so they could retain possession. And like his offensive rebounding too, like late in the game when they were up, and it's like they have to drain clock, right? That is what they need to do. He's able to keep the play alive, which takes another 10 to 14 seconds off of the play clock. As much as I have been, like a Westbrook hater for the past few years, I cannot praise this man more than what he did in this game. And I also, maybe I'm a bit biased because he did win me some money as well. Finally, the Phoenix Suns as a whole, like, I think we really need to take a look at them and see what they have and what they don't have on their team. I don't think they have that elite level shooter. I know, was it Torrey Craig? I know that he's very good, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. And obviously, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. But in terms of like, if Kevin Durant can't hit the three, if he can't get his three ball going, if he's having an off night, it's like, who's going to step up and provide that offense? Because they have Cameron Payne, like, he's dealing with injuries now. We don't know his status for game 2. If Kevin Durant gets another slow start, right, or if he goes through a quarter where he's only getting like, he's 0 for 5 or whatever, his efficiency is not where it usually is, the Suns are going to struggle on offense. That's just the reality when you give up like so much depth for a player. And I get why they made the move. If I was the Phoenix Suns and I had the chance to get Kevin Durant, I would make the move as well. But I can't stand this idea that they are some sort of overwhelming favorite when they have not proved anything yet. Right? It's like Kevin Durant has not won a playoff game now, and he got swept last year. Now he's 0-1 as a Sun. It's like, this all they did was go on like this 8-game winning streak against terrible teams. They played the Nuggets twice without Jokic. They played the Charlotte Hornets. I think they played like the Rockets. Like they played the Bulls. They weren't playing these blockbuster teams. And when they played a team that's a playoff team like the Clippers, they get embarrassed. Maybe embarrassed is a bit strong, but they lose. And so overall, like, I'm definitely not counting the Suns out. I think this series goes 6 or 7, most likely 7. But the Suns are not the team that the media has made them out to be. They are a much more middle of the pack team. And if I'm being honest with you, if they do beat the Clippers, I could imagine the Lakers beating them. I could imagine maybe the Warriors don't, but the Warriors can keep it competitive. So, that's something that I think people are going to have to adjust to, is when they watch more of this series and we kind of understand what the Phoenix Suns look like as a playoff contender, we'll be actually able to kind of accurately pit them against other teams, in our minds, until we actually see the final result. But there's a real chance they don't make it out of the first round, right? And then if the Clippers end up advancing and they get Paul George back, they are a dangerous team. I'm telling you, they have a chance to win the title this year. Now, I am a bit skeptical about Paul George actually coming back. They basically said he's not going to come back for this series no matter what. I really, just seeing how that injury played out, I really don't think he has a chance to come back unless it's the third round or finals. Like, I don't know. And I part of me wants to say he's just not coming back in general, but I mean, I can't confirm that. Overall, at the end of the day, this was a great game. This was the best game of the day so far. I know Nuggets and Timberwolves are currently playing. And I'm curious because, like, in that game, very quickly, I think they actually provide a good matchup for Joker, because they have size with Rudy Gobert and they have size with Karl Anthony Towns. So if there was a matchup that they wouldn't want in the 8th seed, I think that's it. So that'll be interesting. But anyways, just imagine the situation where, let's say the Nuggets advance and the next round is going to be, let's say hypothetically, we could have a situation where it's like Warriors-Lakers and maybe Clippers versus Nuggets in like a rematch of the bubble series. Like, the Western Conference right now is just unbelievable in terms of the viewer experience. I think the NBA is having one of the best postseason runs they've had in years, and they must be ecstatic, because I can't imagine what the viewership is on these games. We'll learn it in the coming days, but this is really looking like it's going to be one hell of a postseason. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. I really look forward to Game 2. And yeah, have a great night, guys. Enjoy.